Welcome back. So this is the fourth part of the fourth unit of this module. All right. So in the last video, that was part 3. I showed you guys buttons, labels. We looked at drop down where we automatically populated some drop downs. We haven't seen panels yet, and we haven't seen. I think we saw boxes, pictures. We haven't seen list box, so we're gonna look at those two. And we saw all of this in the last video. All right. So we're just going to simply continue from where we stopped, which is here. And what I want you guys to see now is, I'm just going to add another tab to this tab. I'll go to collection of the pages. I'll add a new tab, all right? I'll call this tab, the text of this tab, I'll call it panels, okay? And lists box. All right, good. So, and I'm going to move it up so it can appear on the first tab. Okay, that looks fine. And that's my panel and list boxes right there. So, I'll go to the toolbox. You find panels here. This is a panel. So, what is a panel basically? Assuming I have an aspect of my code I need to organize into something and I want them to appear and disappear, then I can use panels for it. You know what I'm saying? So, I can, let's say I have this pan here, I can just change the back, let's change the back color to say something you can see clearly. And I'm going to copy and paste this panel here. And this is now panel 2. I'm going to change the color to something different. To maybe that. Alright. So I'm just going to write some piece of code to kind of show you how this panel can be manipulated. All right, so I have this panel here. I'm going to say, I'm just going to call this switch. All right, so assuming that I want one of the panels to disappear when I click this and the other one to appear, then when I click it again, the other one should disappear and this one should appear. How can I program that kind of logic? So I will just call this button btn switch. All right, so I just have to check if this one is, first I make the two of them, one visible, the other one not visible. So this one I make it visible is true. This one I make it visible is false. All right, so when I say switch, I can check if panel 1 dot visible equals true. Don't forget in C# equal comparison is double equality sign. So if this guy is visible and someone clicks switch, then it now has to be invisible. So I'll make it invisible equals false. False. Then I'll make the next panel to be visible, which is 2, should now be true. Good. I'll have my else part, else. Then I'm going to copy this code and just switch it around. This should now be true, and this should now be false. False. The question is, why would we want to do something like this? Sometimes you're writing applications where you have panels that have controls in them and you want to alternate, you want to enrich the usability of your application by allowing your user to have a feeling like things are popping up here and there. It could be a game, it could be a simple game in a GUI application. So what we're trying to do is we check if this is visible at that time, we make it invisible, we make this one visible. But if it's not visible at that time, then we make it visible and make the other one invisible. So let's see how that looks in runtime. It's coming up. Perfect. So we have this. This is visible by switch, switch, switch. Can you see how it looks? It looks very sleek. It looks like a, so even if you want to create like a game that has to do with like objects with colors and all of that, this can really look very cool. Or you want to create something that has some controls showing and the person says next, you want to show the next level. So just again, Windows application development with all of these controls is left to your imagination now. Nobody can really teach you design. Design is like a talent. However, after practicing for a while and seeing what designs are good, what designs are bad, you can also learn how to design better. So there you go. So that's panels, and we can quickly look at, I think we've looked at panels now, list boxes. All right. So what is a list box? Let's show you a list box quickly. I'm going to go to the form, the design, not this form, this form. All right. Now I'm going to go to this first. Okay, let me pick just one tab. Okay, I'll use this tab because it has space on it. Then I'll look for a control called list box. All right. A list box is so good because sometimes you have items you want someone to check. So there's this list box, and there's another list box called checklist box. Checklist box. This was view. Okay. Checklist box. Okay, that one. All right. So I'm going to show you the two. Why do you need some controls like this? So sometimes you want someone to pick from a long list and they can scroll through the list either horizontally or vertically. All of that is possible with these list boxes. So what I'm going to do at first is just populate this list for you like we did the previous time. So I'm just going to use this guy, the code I have before. But in this case, I'm just going to change the iterator to J here, J and J. All right. Then I'll just say 1 to 20. All right. And that's fine. However, I want to put it in the list box. So list box. So let's give our controls names so that we can track them. So the first one, I'll go to property window. I would fix this guy. CHK, that's what I call my checklist. So I call it check list box, check box. Let's say numbers is the name of the list box, depending on what I want to put inside. The other one, I'll call it LST because it's just an ordinary list box. Numbers. All right. So the checklist box allows you to be able to check a couple of items. The one that is an ordinary one, you can select a couple of items, but it's still going to have the checkbox. All right, that looks good. So we go back here, and here I just say LST to access that list box. Dot, again, it has an items property. Dot, I want to add to the items. And when I'm adding to the items, I want to add item J, dot to string, and that's it. All right. Let's say in the other list box, I want to add the multiple of whatever J is at the time. CHK dot items dot add, then I'll just say J times 2. Then I want to still convert it to string because string is an object. So that's fine. That's good. All right. So when I run this thing, when my form loads up the first time, don't forget our first drop down is still going to get its own value, which is just 1982,000. And this guy can go ahead and get values from 1 to 20. This one gets value from 2 to 40. All right, for obvious reasons. So let's see how that works out. Run. It's coming up. Perfect. So I have it here. And again, our switch is still working fine. Drop the demo. This is working fine. All the years are here. R&B is here. Mutual exclusion is working. Checkboxes are working. Then this guy is working fine. But you can see in my checklist box, I put 2, 4, 6 up to 40 there. Of course, you saw the code. In my normal list box, it's also the reason why I call it list box is that every item can be selected. You see? And there are settings of a list box that can allow you to select multiple items. However, by default, this checklist box allows you to select multiple items. So where can you use it? Places where you have an app that says select the countries you've been in before, or things like select your interest, select the kind of genre of music. So instead of dropping check boxes, you can use a checklist box and you can add all the items to it. So that's for the checklist box. For the checklist, you can use it for countries, for example. You can use it for list of provinces in South Africa, list of South African languages in your application, and whatever it is. It depends on what you're creating, but these controls are there for you to be used. How do you program these controls on the back end? You can program them by saying if check that dot selected. So it has attributes like selected index, selected items. So that will give you a collection of the items that was selected by the user. So I want you to play around with all of these things and see. If you get stuck, please ask your tutor. You can use a checkbox and you're trying to do something. When the user is done selecting and they click submit, then you can be able to extract all the things that you've selected from that genre. That said, I'm going to go back here quickly. So we are done with all of this. You've seen GUI, you've seen code view, design view. Event-driven programming, you know what that is right now. We've seen a click event on something as simple as a button, a command button. Double-click event, you haven't seen that, but I will show you that right now. So what you can do with double-click event is I can go back to the form and put a control. It doesn't work on a command button because obviously command button is one click and it happens. So I can pick something else that is another kind of control and program it when it's been double-clicked. So I think a text box should have a double-click event. So when you want to see, this is text change event. I can click here to see all sort of events that are available, or go to my design view. I'll go to design view. This is the text box here. Then I'll go to properties here, and I'll see the list of all the events that are available. All right, under the events tab. So we can check if double click is available. You see, there's double click available for this control. If you double click it, something can be done. So you can be creating an app that if the user double clicks the text box, the font changes or something like that. So you can use the double click event. There are many other events that are here. Please be sure to look at it. But let's just look at double click. Okay. So then it's going to give me that name of that text box underscore double click. All right. I just want to display a message box to say that show say that text box has been double clicked. Okay, so I'm just gonna minimize this guy so that I can see all of these things. So as you can see, this message will be displayed if I double click this control. So I'm gonna run it and attempt to double click it. Then we'll see how it works. There we go. I'll go here. So that's the text box there. Double click, it says the text has been double clicked. But if I click it one time, it does nothing. 2 times, it tells me it's been double clicked. So there are events you can program. And as you can see, that exhaustive list of different events, event-driven programming. Sometimes you have for a control, sometimes you may have up to 40 different events, 50 events. Please, you may not have to use all of those throughout your period of programming as an expert even, but you have to know what they do so that when it's time to create a solution, your brain can just work out something on how to do it. At this stage of programming, there are millions of ways to get a problem solved. Now it's your creativity that can drive your ways of getting it solved. Sometimes also it's one way is more optimal than the other way, and all of that. You know how it is with programming. All right, good. I'm going to go back to our to-do list. So we've seen double click. Text change. Let's look at text change quickly. So when text change, I'm going to go to that form so I can use this. When the text here is changing, when you're typing, let's just use that box. When the text is changing, what if I want to count the number of characters? So I can put a label here. Where is my label? Put a label here that can tell me the number of characters as I'm typing into this box. So to access that, that's what's it called, that event, I can double click, and by default it gives me text change. But if it doesn't give me text change by default, what I do is I click it, I go to my property window, I go to events, and I go look for the text change in this exhaustive list. So in this list, you can see text change is somewhere around there. You can see? So that's already there. So but then it gives me that, so I'll go straight into it. So when it gives me this, I want that label that I put on the form, let's call it, let's name it, so that, because now we need to program it, so we need to name it. I'm going to come up here and I'll say LBL results, okay, just so that I can know what name is called, and I will also remove the text on it so that it looks like that. Then I'll go to this text change event. Every time the text changes, I want to return the length of the current text. So I'll say LBL, that's the label, dot text, that's the text property of that label, should be at that time txt username dot text dot length. There's a length property of a text box. All right, let's see. Yes, so because length is an integer, so I'm going to say dot to string. Okay, because a text property of a label is a string, excuse me, and the length is an integer, so you may not be able to equate it unless you set this one to string, and that should work perfectly well. So every time you're typing a text of that control is changing, you have an opportunity to count. The other ways to do this, you can count, you can say something like, let's see, there is a, oh, okay, not in this language, but in some languages, there's something you can do. All right, let's see if this works perfectly well. All right, so here we go. I'm going to type BGDay. You see, you can show me 7 there. AI, you can show me 9. And at uj.ac.za. 18. I never actually knew this thing was as 18 characters long. So you can see, so you can also think of applications of this, you know, where you can automatically count characters when it's being typed. And if I delete this, it gives me the current stuff. So the event of this text box changing, I've put some piece of code there that counts the number of characters in that text box. All right, that is simple enough. We've looked at that. Other G applications from slides. So let's quickly go to the slides and see if there are other G applications we can find. Let's go here. All right, so adding to a list box, you've seen it. We've write the program to display. So try and add 100 random numbers to it, because random numbers you can generate. I've also shown you how to add even numbers to it by adding 1 to 20 times 2. Remember, we just saw that now. So loading a picture into a picture box, you've seen that already. All right. Also kind of practice with this and speak to your tutors if you don't understand that. Text change, we've also seen that. All right. So that's fine. I'm going to go back to our schedule here. So in the next video, I'm just going to explain 2 problems to you. We're going to write these 2 programs. They will look at files. You've seen files in Python already, but this is just like going back again and looking at files in C# now. Then I'll give you some hints for the week for the to-do app. See you on the other side. Boom.